I'm Nintendo.
And I'm Sega. This is Console Wars!
And then he gets all mad because I used their Nintendo Switch in the bathroom.
But isn't that what it's for?
Exactly! Walmart employees are so strict. Why don't we do something? I know. Let's go see the new Power Rangers movie.
But didn't we already see that?
Yeah, in the regular theater. Let's go see it in a new 4D theater that just opened.
A 4D theater? Is that the entertainment presentation system combining a 3D film with physical effects that occur in the theater in synchronization with the film?
Yeah. You seem to know a lot about this.
That's just a wild guess. Let's go to the movies. Here's some seats.
Some popcorn.
Dude, why are there ushers behind us?
Don't worry, it's all part of the experience.
Oh, okay. So, do you girls like Power Rangers?
Dude, of course I like the Power Rangers.
Now it's time for your feature presentation.
Dude, that was awesome!
I know! There was so much action!
Don't forget the water. Lots of water.
Yeah, my skin is so moisturized.
That's the way you see movies.
I feel so pumped. I need more Power Rangers.
I got just the thing. Let's pop in the show.
Yeah, that's good, but I need to feel like I'm into fighting.
Well, we could be fighting. In the Power Rangers video game.
Oh, good idea. Then we'd actually be fighting.
Alright, I'll just pop in the Sega game and we'll get started.
Whoa, the Sega game? But the Super Nintendo has a better fighting game.
I think you got punched in the head just a little too hard, because the Genesis version is definitely better.
What? That's it? Are we doing this?
Yep.
Power Rangers the Fighting Edition on Super Nintendo.
Versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Sega Genesis.
In the mid-90s, Power Rangers was big. There were Power Rangers toys, clothes, Pez dispensers, and of course, video games. Games are made for all different consoles: Game Boy, Game Gear, Sega CD, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis. Today, we're focusing on the fighting games. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for Sega Genesis, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Fighting Edition for Super Nintendo.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for Sega Genesis was developed by Banpresto. It was initially released in 1994 and was based on the early seasons. It lets you play as Rangers and Zords. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Fighting Edition was developed by Natsume. It was actually the second Power Rangers Super Nintendo game and was released in 1995. It takes place a bit later than the Sega game and only lets you play as Zords. Two different Power Ranger fighting games. Which one's better? Let's find out.
Sega Genesis game looks just like the show.
The characters look fantastic, just like they did in the early seasons of the show. The Power Rangers look amazing. The villains look incredible. And the cutscenes look like they're right out of the show. And the levels all look like they could be different locations from the show.
It's not as good as the Super Nintendo game.
Characters in my game look like they're right out of the show too. Good looking good guys and good looking baddies. Even the levels look like they could be right out of the show. They all have a nice distinct look from one another.
But I think it's obvious. My game looks better.
Right away, the first difference you notice is how much bigger the characters look on Super Nintendo. Sure, the Genesis game has you play as Power Rangers, so their small size is fine. But even the Zords are tiny. That's not a Zord fight. This is a Zord fight.
My Zords are bigger. I win.
But size isn't everything. Let's take another look at those levels.
The Super Nintendo only has 5 different levels. The Sega Genesis game has 6. More levels means more to look at. For more variety, the Sega game wins.
What are you talking about? I have 6 levels.
What? That color swap doesn't count.
Oh, you don't count color swaps, do you?
Cause this looks like color swaps to me.
Yeah, but that's different. That's how they did it on the show.
The helmet should look different, and you know it. And my game has better use of color.
Another thing you notice right away is how much more colorful it is. The characters and especially the levels have more color. Dull City on Sega, Colorful City on Super Nintendo. Even the colors of the alternate costumes are cool. These colors look better than the original. There's also more detail on Super Nintendo. Lots of rocks on Sega. And actual stuff to look at on Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo also has some good use of lights. I mean, look at the pretty lights!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Super Nintendo game can give you seizures.
The Super Nintendo is loaded with lightning and flickering lights. It's too much. Only play this if you want to get a seizure.
Like the show didn't do that? There's just no denying. My game looks better.
With bigger characters, better use of color, and more details. Best graphics go to Super Nintendo.
Presentation on Super Nintendo is exceptional.
I have some cutscenes after battles that look really cool. And it's not just stills, there's some good animations here. Just like out of the show.
That's it? My game has a lot more cutscenes.
The Genesis game is loaded with cutscenes. You get one before, in between, and after every fight. They're also animated to look just like the show. I mean, check out that finger action.
And my cutscenes are definitely better.
Like I said before, these cutscenes look like they could be right out of the show. The Super Nintendo looks more cartoony. Real? Cartoony. Real? Cartoony. And the Genesis cutscenes work just like the show. Let me give you the setup. Before you fight, you see the Ranger morph, just like the show. After the first round, you see the Zord get summoned, just like the show. Then, after the second round, you see Rita all mad, just like the show. This is an amazing representation of the show. Super Nintendo just has an occasional cutscene after some fights.
Cutscenes aren't everything. There are plenty of reasons why my presentation is better.
Let's start with the character select and versus mode. On Super Nintendo, you get a nice clear profile pic of the characters with lightning in the background. And on Sega, you have super tiny characters on a black background. Come on, is that really the best you can do? And my game over screen is cooler too. Sure, Sega has a pic of the Power Rangers to feed it, but I have Lord Zed. And you like finger action? Check out Zed pointing to continue or end. Plus my fonts look cooler.
I also have stuff that you don't have.
I have a pre-fight screen. I also have a picture of each player during a fight. If you don't like it, you can get rid of it. But the coolest and most subtle is the lightning transitions all over the game.
So I have something that you don't. In-game cutscenes.
When you win a battle on Super Nintendo, the character does a quick pose, but they don't really move. On Sega, it's a little more animated, especially with the Power Rangers. Check out how vulgar Tommy is.
You fucking piece of shit! Yeah, come on.
Also, I have the monsters going from small to large, just like the show. And after you beat an enemy with the Zord, you see a finishing move. Except on Goldar, who gets away. Just like the show. I mean, that's some nice attention to detail.
Okay, your game has some cool things, but you can't deny that overall, my presentation is better.
With better looking cutscenes in keeping with the show, best presentation goes to Sega Genesis.
Do you have the theme song?
Yep.
Well then let's hear them back to back. Well, there's no denying that Super Nintendo quality. And the other songs in my game are just as good.
These songs rock.
doesn't sound better than my game, and my songs rock harder.
My songs also rock out. Plus, I have this song.
Yeah, but you can't deny my quality. More rockin' like the show.
But I have more songs, and your game overuses the theme song way too much.
The Power Rangers theme is used with the level with Zordon.
So my game uses a theme song for one level. How is that overused?
Well, let me explain.
Who you fight in the game determines what stage you're on. There are 4 Zords in the Super Nintendo game. Every Zord level is this stage. That means 4 levels take place in the Zordon stage. 4. There's only 8 characters. That's half the game. Half the game, you have to hear the Power Rangers theme.
Well, it's a good song, and the top quality on Super Nintendo makes it fine.
Even if you don't mind hearing the same song over and over again, my game still has something that yours doesn't. Voiceovers.
The Genesis game is loaded with voiceovers. Even in the Zord you hear the Power Rangers talk. This really captures the charm of the show.
But some of those voiceovers are distorted.
That's still more effort than your game.
With more songs and voiceovers that capture the charm of the show, best sound goes to Sega Genesis.
The gameplay on Genesis is excellent.
It plays like a typical fighter. You only have 2 attack buttons in this game, normal and fierce. It can be easily played with a 6 or 3 button controller. You have special moves you can input with the D-pad and either attack button. There's also a meter that fills when you get hit. When it's full, your specials do more damage. It's a nice solid fighter.
It doesn't play as good as the Super Nintendo game.
This game also plays like a typical fighter. This game, however, has 4 attack buttons instead of just 2. You have a strong and weak punch and a strong and weak weapon attack. This game also has specials you can input with the D-pad and attack button. And I also have a power meter. It's different from the Genesis game since it's not based on damage you take. It just fills automatically. If you time things right and pull off a special when it's full, your attack is stronger. A much more solid fighter.
Well, my game does some things a bit different.
Both games have a 1-player scenario mode and a 2-player battle mode. 2-player in both games lets you play as good or bad guys, but I want to focus on scenario mode. In the Genesis scenario mode, you can play as any of the Power Rangers, and eventually the Green Ranger too. On the Super Nintendo scenario mode, you can only play as the Thunder Megazord or the Mega Tiger Zord, only 2 to choose from, as opposed to 6 on Genesis. And on Sega, before every fight, you get to pick which Ranger you play as. Then you have 1 round to win or lose. If you lose, you can try again. If you win, then the monster grows, and you get to use either your Megazord or the Dragon Zord. Every fight in this game is like this, except for the final match, where you just play as the Zords. So you get the best of both worlds in this game, Power Rangers and Zords, just like the show. Super Nintendo only lets you play as the Zords. No Power Rangers at all. Lame.
I still think my game plays better.
Let's talk about my power meter. Like I said before, the meter is always filling itself up. Pulling off a special when it's full makes that special stronger. But there's more. When you pull off the special with the full meter, the meter powers up to the next level. Do it again and you power up to another level. Do it a 3rd time and now your power meter's at max. For a limited time, every special you do is stronger. You don't have to wait for the meter to fill. Also, and this is the real fun part, now you can pull off a super special move. These moves are incredibly powerful and can really decimate your enemy. It's incredibly satisfying to hit your opponent with these super specials.
The Super Special gives my game more depth.
The specials make you strategize. You try to get the power meter to max power as quickly as you can so you can pull off the super specials. It might sound difficult, but it's actually incredibly easy to get the meter to max power. Even if you get hit while doing a move, as long as you did the special while the meter was full, the meter will still go up to the next level. It's so easy to fill the meter. Then, it is so satisfying to do the super special. Talk about a win-win.
Yeah, that might be fun, but your game has one problem. You can't actually play as a Power Ranger.
This is a Power Rangers game. And in my game, you get to play as the Power Rangers and the Zords. All 6 Power Rangers. In the Super Nintendo game, you play as the Zords. Only the Zords. Not once do you control a Power Ranger. This easily makes mine the better game.
So you can play as Power Rangers. Doesn't make your game better.
So your game lets you play as 6 different Rangers, but they only have 2 different moves each. Actually, I'm sorry, they all have 3. I forgot the third one because it's the same special. Every Power Ranger has a move where they use their blasters. Every one. The same special. Down to forward attack. They all have the same lame Hadouken move. With so few moves, I'm not missing much.
Not missing much? My game has more characters.
There's a total of 12 playable characters in the Genesis game. There's only 8 in the Super Nintendo game. Well, 9 if you unlock Ivanhoos.
So you have more characters. My game has more moves.
The characters in the Sega game have only 4 moves tops. In the Super Nintendo game, the characters have at least 4 moves each, with some characters having up to 8 moves. More moves allow for a more in-depth gaming experience. Plus, in my Versus mode, you can do mirror matches. That's not allowed in the Sega game.
But my game is set up more like the show.
Well, your setup has some flaws.
Like you said before, the Genesis game is 1-round matches. It's not the typical best 2 out of 3. The moment you lose, the fight is over. You have to beat the computer 2 times to win. Once as a Power Ranger and once as a Zord. But the computer only has to beat you once to win, either as a Ranger or a Zord. So if you win the Ranger match, but lose the Zord match, you go to the continue screen. That's incredibly unfair. You have to win both matches in a row in order to go to the next opponent. It can be difficult, and 1-round matches don't give you enough time to get good at one character's moves. You'll probably get used to playing as a Ranger since you play round 1 a lot, but unless you always get to round 2, you won't get used to playing as a Zord. Good old Super Nintendo sticking to best out of 3 setup gives you lots of time to get familiar with your character's moves.
And on top of all that, I have an extra mode.
The Super Nintendo has an exclusive trial mode. This mode tests to see how many battles you can win in a row. Not incredibly innovative, but a nice addition.
There's just no denying that my game is more fun.
Even though you don't actually get to play as the Power Rangers, with more moves, easy controls, and satisfying super specials, I'm telling you, this meter makes this game so fun. Best gameplay goes to Super Nintendo.
Both games represent the show well, but one is better, and that game is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Fighting Edition for the Super Nintendo.
It has better graphics with bigger characters, better use of color, and more details. Its cutscenes aren't exactly like the show, but they're good in their own right. Plus, it has other cool things. It may use the theme a lot and lacks voiceovers, but the music quality is closer to the show. And it definitely has the better gameplay. With more controls, more moves, easy to pull off super moves, mirror battles, and a trial mode. The Genesis gameplay is fine, but compared to the Super Nintendo game, it's a bit dull and has some flaws. There's no denying how much more fun the Super Nintendo game is to play. Best Power Ranger game goes to Super Nintendo.
I can't believe I lost. My game's more like the show.
Well, my game just did things a little better.
Well, it doesn't make it any easier.
Hey, I know what'll cheer you up. Let's go see another 4D movie.
Nah, I don't feel like getting more beat up today.
Who said we need to watch Power Rangers? The theater is also playing 50 Shades Darker. Wouldn't you like to see those ushers in a more intimate setting?
That's probably one of the best ideas you've ever had. I'm in. Dude, this is gonna be awesome.
The word duh comes to mind.
Yeah. Oh, here they come. Act like ladies touch us all the time. Dude, what the crap? They went to those other guys instead.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to settle for other ladies.
Dude?
Yeah?
Are there 2 large men behind us?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Should we go?
Are you kidding me? These tickets were expensive.
Yeah, but I'm not really comfortable.
I'm sure they're not gonna do anything weird. We're probably gonna get some sweet massages.
That would be sweet. I am so tense back here.
Now it's time for your feature presentation.
Thanks for checking out our latest video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks to everyone who suggested Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And keep those other suggestions coming. We will get to them. Also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more console wars goodness. Later.
Like that. Exactly. Oh, fuck! Nothing right in the fucking eye.